It was a warm July evening as I pulled into my parents' driveway, starting my summer break after 3 years of college. These visits had become rather routine. Mom's overly enthusiastic embraces, Dad's clumsy backpats, and the endless inquiries about my academics that barely concealed their lack of genuine interest. "Maya, honey," Mom called from the porch. "You're here just in time for dinner. Guess who's joining us?" I knew it was Jennifer, my older sister, and her husband, Tom. They always seemed to appear whenever I was home, as if needing to flaunt their success. Sure enough, 2 hours later, we were gathered around the dining table. Mom had even used her fancy tablecloth with the delicate lace, reserved only for Jennifer's visits. "So," Jennifer declared, dramatically placing her fork down, "Tom and I have been thinking we should all go to Hawaii for Christmas." Mom practically squealed with delight, clapping her hands like a child. "Oh, that would be marvelous." Dad beamed, radiating pride. "What a splendid idea, sweetheart." Then Jennifer turned to me, a smug smirk playing on her lips. "Maya, do you think you can manage financially, or should Big Sister lend a hand?" My face flushed, but I maintained composure. "I can handle my own expenses, thank you." "Are you certain?" Jennifer raised an eyebrow. "Because we're talking about roughly $3,000 per person for flights and accommodations." I nearly choked on my water. $3,000. That was more than my entire savings, especially on a minimum wage part-time job. But I'd rather live on ramen for 6 months than accept Jennifer's condescending charity. "I'll manage," I reiterated firmly. Jennifer shrugged and turned back to our parents. "Well, anyway, the restaurant is thriving. We just hired a new chef from Italy, can you believe it? Authentic Italian cuisine right here in town." "You're so resourceful, dear," Mom gushed. "Maya, you should really learn a thing or two from your sister about business acumen." "Yes, Maya," Jennifer chimed in. "Maybe you could even work for me someday." Sitting there, watching my parents fawn over Jennifer's Hawaii trip, I felt like I was 10 years old again. Nothing had changed. Mom's eager nods, Dad's proud smile, and the pervasive feeling of being overlooked. Jennifer remained their golden child, just as she had always been. The 5-year age gap might as well have been 50, considering the disparity in how our parents perceived us. They never explicitly stated it, but their actions spoke volumes. Jennifer was the one they had faith in, the one destined for greatness. Remember when Jennifer won that school business competition in 10th grade? Dad would often reminisce. We knew then she had that entrepreneurial spirit. The thing is, they weren't intentionally malicious. They never deliberately hurt me or belittled me. They simply forgot I existed sometimes, as if I were a mere extra in the Jennifer show. They'd remember to inquire about my grades or needs, but their attention would invariably return to Jennifer, anticipating her next accomplishment to celebrate. Thank goodness for Grandpa Joe. He lived in that large old house with the wraparound porch and the squeaky swing. He was the only one who seemed to have enough love for both of us. A successful businessman himself, he had promised long ago to cover both our college tuitions. When Jennifer left for college, I was 13. I naively assumed things would change, that I would finally have my moment in the spotlight. How wrong I was. Jennifer just called. Mom would rush into my room, practically buzzing with excitement. She joined the debate team. We should drive up this weekend to see her. A breakfast visit. We can bring her some spending money, Dad would suggest. They'd spend hours on Skype with her, the laptop dominating the kitchen counter while they prepared dinner, Jennifer's voice filling the house even in her absence. Meanwhile, I'd quietly slip out the back door and head to Grandpa's. Those afternoons at Grandpa's became my refuge, a place that felt more like home than my actual home ever did. We had our own comfortable routine, settling into his worn leather couch with a tub of mint chocolate chip ice cream between us, watching classic films on his ancient TV. "You know what's great about Casablanca, Maya?" he'd say, pausing the movie. "It's not about the obvious hero. It's about the quiet guy who does the right thing when no one's looking. Other days, We'd order pepperoni pizza, and he'd share stories from his own childhood while we played chess. He taught me how to fish, taking me to the lake behind his house on weekends. The thing about fishing, he'd say, helping me bait my hook, is that the best fish aren't always the ones making the biggest splash. Sometimes it's the quiet ones, swimming deep, that turn out to be the most special. I'd sit in his small fishing boat watching the sunlight dance on the water and feel like maybe, just maybe, I didn't need to be the favorite to be loved. Grandpa had a way of making me feel seen without making a fuss about it. Want to watch. Roman Holiday was Grandpa's favorite movie, and he'd often ask about it after a long day fishing. I bought those chocolate cookies you like, he'd say. Those moments weren't grand or showy like Jennifer's accomplishments. They were quiet, uncomplicated, and genuine. While my parents drove across state lines to give Jennifer spending money, I learned poker with Grandpa, using M&Ms as chips. 5 years flew by in a whirlwind of family dinners and achievements, all Jennifer's, naturally. She graduated college with honors, secured a position at a prestigious firm, and began dating Tom, whom my parents instantly deemed perfect for her. Meanwhile, I prepared for my own college journey. The day I departed, Grandpa held me tighter than ever before. His embrace felt different somehow, more pressing, more final. "I love you so much, Maya," he whispered. "Never forget that." I dismissed it at the time. "Grandpa, you're acting like we'll never see each other again. I'll be home for Thanksgiving." He just smiled his gentle smile and patted my cheek. "Just remember what I said, kiddo." 2 months into my freshman year, Mom called. Her voice cracked as she informed me Grandpa had passed away in his sleep. My world momentarily stopped. I sat on my dorm room bed, phone pressed to my ear, unable to comprehend her words. The funeral was on a crisp autumn day. Afterward, we gathered at Grandpa's lawyer's office for the reading of the will. Jennifer sat poised in her designer black dress, while I fidgeted in the uncomfortable department store dress I'd hastily purchased. To my granddaughter Sarah, the attorney read, "I leave the sum of $50,000. Mom nodded, squeezing Dad's hand. To my granddaughter Jennifer, "I leave the sum of $300,000. Jennifer beamed and immediately turned to Tom, who'd been by her side throughout the funeral. "Baby, we can have our dream wedding now and still have enough to open our restaurant." And to my granddaughter Maya, the lawyer continued, "I leave my house on Maple Street, including all its contents and the surrounding property." The room fell silent before Jennifer erupted in laughter. "Oh my God, Maya got the old house. That's hilarious." She wiped tears of amusement from her eyes. "Don't worry, sis. Maybe you can sell it and buy yourself something nice, though I doubt anyone would want that creaky old place." "Jenna," Mom chided half-heartedly, but she was already smiling at her elder daughter's aspirations. "We'll have the wedding in the spring," Jennifer announced, completely hijacking the somber occasion. "Tom and I already have the perfect business plan for an authentic Italian restaurant. This is exactly the seed money we needed." True to her word, Jennifer immersed herself in wedding planning. It was a lavish affair. White doves, ice sculptures, a 5-tier cake, and what felt like half the town in attendance. I stood beside her in a bridesmaid dress she'd chosen, watching her marry Tom in what Mom called the social event of the year. Before their honeymoon tan faded, Jennifer and Tom opened their restaurant, Bellissima. Beautiful life. The local newspaper featured them, praising the young entrepreneurs for introducing authentic Italian cuisine to our small town. Mom and Dad framed the article and proudly displayed it in their living room. Meanwhile, I grappled with what to do with my inheritance. The property taxes were substantial, and maintaining that large old house wouldn't be cheap. After crunching the numbers one weekend, I thought I'd found a solution. At the next family dinner, I decided to broach the subject. "I've been thinking about the house," I said, trying to sound confident as I played with my green beans. "Since I'm at college most of the year, I could rent it out. That would help cover the taxes and upkeep. The ensuing silence made me look up. Mom and Jennifer exchanged one of their knowing glances, the kind that always spelled trouble for me. Jennifer's husband, Tom, suddenly became very interested in his mashed potatoes. "Oh, honey," Mom said in that condescending tone she used when she thought I was being particularly naive. "Why would you want to rent to strangers when your sister and Tom need a place to live?" I blinked. "What?" Jennifer set down her wine glass with a delicate clink. "Well, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Tom and I could use the extra space, especially now that we're running the restaurant. And obviously, you're not going to charge rent from your own sister. I mean, that would be ridiculous, right, Mom?" "Of course it would," Mom agreed instantly. "Family helps family." And just like that, they resumed their previous conversation about the restaurant's new wine list. Dad nodded in agreement. Jennifer gestured animatedly about some expensive Chianti she'd imported, and Tom finally looked up from his potatoes to join in. I sat there, fork frozen halfway to my mouth, as the reality of what had just transpired sunk in. I could protest, of course. I could point out that it was my house, my inheritance, my decision. I could remind them that Jennifer and Tom had just received a substantial sum of money from Grandpa's will, while I got, well, a problem. I knew protesting would be futile. They'd give me that familiar look of disappointment and annoyance, the one they always wore when I didn't comply with their plans. Mom would sigh and lecture me about family loyalty. Jennifer would subtly jab at my selfishness for weeks, and Dad would give me that silent treatment that implied I was needlessly complicating things. So I did what I always did. I swallowed my objections along with my now cold green beans and remained silent. The following weekend, Jennifer and Tom moved into my house. She sent me pictures of their updates. Grandpa's cherished leather chair replaced with a modern monstrosity. His beloved fishing photos removed to make way for framed restaurant reviews. While I crammed for midterms in my cramped dorm room, my sister and her husband lived rent-free in my house. Each time I returned home for breaks, I had to ask permission to visit what was legally mine. Fast forward to the present. After that summer dinner, I immersed myself in work with renewed determination. Between morning shifts at the campus cafe and evening hours at the library, I barely had time to breathe. But each time I felt like giving up, I'd envision Hawaii and force myself to pick up an extra shift. When Jennifer called in late November, I had the money ready, $33,000, almost every penny I'd earned over the past few months. "Send it today," she instructed. "I need to finalize the bookings." I transferred the money instantly, my hands trembling with excitement as I clicked send on the banking app. That weekend, I splurged on a new swimsuit, nothing extravagant, just a simple blue one-piece on sale. My friend Lisa lent me her good suitcase, the one with functional wheels. December 23rd arrived, crisp and cold. I showed up at my parents' house with my borrowed suitcase and new swimsuit, practically vibrating with anticipation. But something felt amiss. Mom barely made eye contact when she hugged me, and Dad kept clearing his throat nervously. Then Jennifer and Tom arrived. The moment they walked in, I knew something was wrong. Jennifer wore that expression, the same one she'd had when she informed me she'd be living in my house rent-free. Mom and Jennifer exchanged knowing glances that made my stomach churn. We sat down to dinner, and for a few minutes, only the clinking of forks against plates filled the silence. Then Jennifer set down her wine glass and cleared her throat. "We need to discuss something," she announced. "The restaurant, well, we've hit a rough patch. The numbers aren't what we projected." Mom reached over and squeezed her hand supportively. I just knew what was coming. "We've had to make some tough decisions," Jennifer continued, her voice dripping with false regret. "We've had to cut some expenses, including our contribution to the Hawaii trip budget." My fork stopped midway to my mouth. "But I already paid my share," I stammered. "Yes, well," Jennifer smiled that condescending smile I knew so well, "that money will help cover the rest of our expenses. We couldn't possibly cancel on everyone. And Tom and I never even had a proper honeymoon because we went straight into the restaurant business. I looked at Mom and Dad, expecting them to object to this blatant injustice, but they remained silent. Mom continued patting Jennifer's hand. Dad studied his plate as if it held the secrets of the universe. I paid my share, I repeated, my voice shaking. $33,000. That was all my savings. Maya, Mom snapped, her tone sharp enough to make me flinch. Family helps family. Jennifer and Tom are having a difficult time with the restaurant. The least you can do is be understanding. Understanding, I whispered. Yes, understanding. Besides, someone needs to watch the house while we're gone. Mom turned back to Jennifer. Now about the hotel arrangements. I stood up so abruptly my chair scraped against the floor. No one even looked up. I climbed the stairs to my old bedroom, the sounds of their cheerful conversation floating up after me. They continued chatting and laughing as if they hadn't just stolen my money and shattered my dreams. Lying in my childhood bed that night, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars Grandpa had helped me stick on the ceiling years ago, I made a decision. The next morning, I played my part perfectly. I stood on the front porch, smiling and waving as they loaded their luggage into 2 waiting taxis. "Don't forget to water Mom's plants," Jennifer called out, adjusting her designer sunglasses. "And check the mail every day," Mom added. "Don't worry about a thing," I assured them, still smiling. Jennifer leaned out the taxi window. "I'll send you lots of pictures, so you won't feel left out." She laughed as if she just told the funniest joke. I kept waving until both taxis disappeared around the corner. Then I walked straight to my car and drove to Grandpa's house. My house. Tom and Jennifer's belongings were everywhere. Her clothes filled the closets where Grandpa's suits once hung. Their pretentious artwork replaced his cherished fishing photos. Their wedding portrait sat on the mantelpiece where Grandpa kept our chess set. I began in the master bedroom, systematically packing their belongings into suitcases and boxes. Designer clothes, expensive shoes, Tom's custom-made suits. Everything went into bags. I located their important documents in Grandpa's old study and packed those as well. The moving company charged me triple their usual rate for Christmas Eve service. My next stop was a 24-hour locksmith, who also charged a holiday premium, but I didn't care. I watched with satisfaction as he changed every lock on the house. I drove back to campus, arriving just as my friends were starting their orphan Christmas celebration, our annual holiday party for students who couldn't or didn't want to go home. "Maya," Lisa exclaimed when I walked in, "I thought you'd be in Hawaii by now." "Change of plans," I said, accepting the mug of hot chocolate she offered. "But you know what? I think I'm exactly where I need to be." For a week, my phone buzzed incessantly with Jennifer's updates from Hawaii. Each notification felt like a deliberate jab to the ribs. "Living our best life?" Read the caption under a photo of Jennifer and Tom sipping cocktails on the beach. "Making memories with the people who matter most," accompanied a sunset dinner picture. My Instagram feed became a showcase of their perfect Hawaiian vacation. Jennifer lounging by infinity pools, Mom and Dad beaming at a luau, Tom attempting to surf. Every photo was meticulously filtered and captioned with nauseating platitudes about family time and much-needed breaks from running a business. The worst was her post about knowing when to step back from work and enjoy life, featuring a photo of them all raising champagne glasses at a New Year's Eve party, paid for with my savings. Then, early on New Year's Day, my phone exploded. "Maya, why are all of Jennifer's things in our living room?" "Call me immediately, Mom. What the hell did you do with our stuff?" "Jennifer, the locks are changed." "Did you change them?" "Tom." I watched the messages pour in, my phone buzzing like an angry hornet. "This is completely unacceptable. Call us now." "Mom, if you don't bring the new keys right now, you'll regret this." "Jennifer." "Maya Elizabeth Parker. Answer your phone this instant." "Dad." The messages continued, escalating in anger. Words like ungrateful, selfish, and spiteful filled my screen. Jennifer's texts were particularly colorful, laced with accusations of betraying the family and ruining their lives. How dare you throw your own sister out on the street after everything we've done for you? Mom, you're just jealous because we got to go to Hawaii and you didn't. Jennifer, this is the most selfish thing you've ever done. Dad. By mid-morning, my phone displayed 47 missed calls and over 100 messages. I read each one, letting their words wash over me without responding. With every angry message, I felt lighter, freer. They could rage and threaten all they wanted. I wasn't that compliant little boy anymore. I silenced my phone and went to breakfast with my friends, leaving their messages unread and their calls unanswered. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel obligated to explain or justify myself to them. By evening, my phone showed over 200 missed calls. The constant buzzing had become white noise. But when Mom's name flashed across my screen for the 201st time, I finally answered. How dare you? Mom's voice exploded through the speaker before I could even speak. Do you have any idea what you've put your sister through? Dad's voice joined in from another extension. This behavior is completely unacceptable. I sat cross-legged on my dorm room bed, surprisingly calm. Is it? Like taking my $33,000 and going to Hawaii without me was acceptable? That was different, Mom sputtered. The restaurant, no, I interrupted, my voice steady. Let me talk for once in my life. Just let me talk. Amazingly, they fell silent. You took my money. Money I worked double shifts to earn. You let Jennifer and Tom live in my house rent-free while they ran their restaurant. You've always treated me like I was nothing compared to Jennifer. Always. That's not, Dad started. Remember my high school graduation? You left early because Jennifer called about a job interview. My college acceptance letter? You barely looked at it because Jennifer had just started dating Tom. Every achievement, every milestone in my life has been overshadowed by Jennifer's latest whatever. The words poured out of me, years of hurt and resentment finally finding their voice. And then Hawaii. You didn't just take my money, you laughed about it. Jennifer sent me mocking photos. Do you have any idea how that felt? To know my own family could be so cruel? The silence on the other end stretched out. Finally, Mom spoke. Her voice softer but still defensive. Maya, you have to understand. Jennifer and Tom are really struggling with the restaurant. They need help. And I needed parents who cared about me as much as they cared about Jennifer. I needed a sister who didn't treat me like a doormat. I needed a family who saw me as more than just Jennifer's backup plan. But where will they live? Mom's voice cracked. They can live with you, just like they are now. Or they can rent an apartment like normal adults. My house isn't their safety net anymore. And starting next month, I'm renting it out to actual paying tenants. You can't, Mom began. I can, and I will. I've already spoken to a property management company. The lease is being drawn up. I hung up before they could respond. 30 minutes later, my phone lit up with messages from Jennifer. You vindictive witch. Read the first one. You've ruined everything. I hope you're happy now that you've destroyed our lives. Each message was more vicious than the last, a stream of vitriol that would have devastated me a year ago. Now, I simply turned off my phone and went to sleep. That was a year ago. I'm in my senior year now, and I haven't spoken to any of them since. Through the family grapevine, I hear snippets of information. The restaurant finally went under. Jennifer and Tom are still living with our parents, supposedly regrouping before their next venture. Meanwhile, the property management company I hired found excellent tenants for Grandpa's house. The rent covers the taxes with enough left over to build a decent savings account. I'm careful with the money. I think Grandpa would be proud of that. Sometimes, usually late at night when I can't sleep, I wonder if we'll ever reconcile. If Mom will ever understand why I did what I did. If Jennifer will ever see me as an equal rather than a convenience. If Dad will ever stand up for me the way he always stood up for her. But then I remember that day in Hawaii when they were all drinking champagne with my money, and I realized something. I don't need their understanding anymore. I don't need their approval, their love, or their acceptance. What I need, what I finally have, is my self-respect.